think you know The Mask, a bright green face, rubber hose comedy, one of Jim Carrey's funniest performances. But what if I told you that this movie was never actually meant to be funny at all? Beneath a zany slapstick is a film that started out dark, violent, and genuinely disturbing. The version that almost hit theaters was closer to a horror movie than a family comedy, and the character wasn't a lovable anti-hero. He was something far more worse. Even the most iconic part of the film came with a hidden cost that made its production miserable, and in some cases, nearly impossible. And that's just the surface. Today, we're going to get into 12 weird facts about The Mask that reveal how this cartoon comedy quietly flirted with chaos. So stick around, because fact number 6 completely changes how you're going to see this movie. Number 12. The studio wanted a darker R-rated version. The version of The Mask that we love today nearly turned out quite different. Originally, the studio had planned for it to be a dark and R-rated horror film. Inspired by the violent and creepy Dark Horse comics, they wanted to create something as scary and intense as A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, in case you haven't watched it yet, this movie is a super intense classic that uses strange dream logic, mind-bending suspense, and shocking, gross special effects. New Line Cinema thought that they'd discovered their next big horror hit, packed full of suspense and gore. They even hired Chuck Russell, a director famous for making horror movies, to bring the idea to the big screen. But here's where things get really interesting. When Chuck began looking into the original story, he realized it was way more violent and disturbing than anyone expected. And that's when he made a huge decision to completely change the movie's direction. Instead of making it the terrifying horror film the studio had in mind, Russell turned it into a comedy.
I think he wants to communicate.
Focusing on Jim Carrey's awesome talent for physical comedy and his crazy facial expressions. So, if Russell had not taken that chance, The Mask could have well been a scary movie instead of the hilarious and feel-good classic that we all know and love today. Number 11. Jim Carrey ignored large portions of the script. Bending the script is a normal thing, but what if an actor directly ignores it altogether? Well, that's exactly what Jim Carrey did while filming. He didn't just adjust a few lines here and there, he completely transformed how the movie came to life. Chuck Russell even admitted that once filming began, the script became a mere suggestion compared to what Carrey brought to the set. With his background in stand-up and sketch comedy and his love for physical improv, Carrey delivered moments that no writer could have ever predicted. Entire scenes were filmed with Carrey inventing the jokes, the bizarre impressions, and his wild facial expressions in real time. Cameras just kept on rolling to capture the entire creative madness. For example, the iconic catchphrase, "smokin'," wasn't even in the original script. It was one of Carrey's spontaneous inventions on set.
Smokin'!
Key parts of the character, like his zany dance moves, twisted contortions, and rapid-fire humor, were all born in the moment, and the crew eventually learned to shape the movie around Carrey's instincts, even reworking scenes during editing to match his genius. That is some next-level performance. Number 10. Most physical movement was not CGI. Computer-generated imagery is everywhere now in the movies, but back in 1994, it was not the go-to solution for everything. What looks like pure cartoon chaos in the film was a mind-blowing mixture of real-life talent, camera tricks, and a sprinkle of CGI magic. At the time, CGI was very expensive and painfully slow to create, so filmmakers leaned on Jim Carrey's physical performance as the heart of the madness. Jim Carrey's rubber-like face and over-the-top body movements were so animated on their own, they saved the filmmakers a lot of time and resources. Instead of creating every crazy facial wrinkle or exaggerated move in a computer, the visual effects team could take what Carrey did live on camera and amplify it digitally only when necessary.
I'd like to think so! Ha ha ha!
That meant they didn't have to build every moment from scratch, and Carrey's natural talent practically ran the show. For example, consider that tornado spinning scene. Now, believe it or not, Carrey actually spun around on a turntable during filming, and the CGI team added in digital touches to increase the cartoon-like effect. Number 9. The teeth were real and uncomfortable. There are a lot of misconceptions about those enormous goofy teeth that Jim Carrey flashes whenever his character goes full cartoon mode. A lot of people assume those exaggerated teeth were CGI or a quick camera trick, but shockingly, they were real prosthetics that Carrey actually wore during filming. These oversized dentures were specially designed to give his character a wild and animated look, but they did come with a catch. Originally, the plan was to use them only in silent scenes because they were so uncomfortable and made speaking nearly impossible.
No, but I believe my friends are. Perhaps you know them. Franklin, Grant, and Jackson.
However, in true Jim Carrey fashion, he turned this challenge into an opportunity. He trained himself to speak, shout, and even perform high-energy dialogue with the cumbersome teeth in his mouth, making them an important part of the character's charm. Just think about those countless takes with these huge, awkward prosthetics rubbing against his gums. That is pure dedication.
Jeez, I figured you had a sense of humor. After all,
You marry her!
that's gotta hurt.
Number 8. Test audiences found the transformation scary. It may be strange that they didn't expect audiences to be shocked by the transformation scenes in the film, and when Stanley Ipkiss, played by Jim Carrey, first puts on the mask, it actually is kind of intense, instead of a goofy or a funny moment. His face bends and stretches and changes in such exaggerated ways that it feels like a mixture between a cartoon and a scene from a spooky movie. Early test audiences were caught off guard by how creepy and sudden the change looked, so instead of laughing, some people felt uncomfortable watching it, almost like they were witnessing something out of a nightmare. This kind of reaction isn't too surprising when you remember that The Mask originally had more horror influences, and the filmmakers kept some of that spooky edge, especially in the prosthetics and effects. What makes it all a weird fact is that the movie was meant to be a comedy with some casual scenes, not like the ones that pack a surprising punch. Number 7. Cameron Diaz had never acted in a film before. For a movie that had launched one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, it's shocking to realize that Cameron Diaz had zero acting experience when she stepped onto the set. At just 21 years old, she wasn't an up-and-coming actress or a hidden gem waiting for her big break. She was a complete unknown to the film industry. She'd been working as a fashion model when casting directors spotted her, and almost unbelievably, she landed the role of Tina Carlisle without any prior experience in front of a camera. And you know what's even more crazy? She had to start taking acting lessons after she got the part. She had to quickly learn how to act while getting ready for filming to begin. But wait, there's more. Tina Carlisle wasn't a minor character. She was the glamorous counterpart to Stanley Ipkiss. For a total newcomer like Diaz, the pressure could have been career-crushing. Any hesitation or nervousness on her part would have been glaring on screen, but instead of cracking under the pressure, she stunned everyone with a natural and magnetic performance. The risk had paid off in the biggest way possible, boosting Cameron Diaz's career overnight. Number 6. Warner Brothers feared it was unmarketable. What might be weird is that losing faith in something that's not even launched yet. When The Mask was first being developed, the studio execs were scratching their heads over how to sell it, and who could blame them? The movie was a chaotic mix of ideas. Based on a lesser-known Dark Horse comic that was quirky and violent, the story featured a shy, everyday bank clerk who then turned into a wild, green-faced jokester with cartoonish superpowers. And at that time, Jim Carrey wasn't all that famous. Executives worried that the movie was too much of a mashup to make sense, not a straight comedy or action-packed enough for superhero fans, and definitely not your usual blockbuster. So, what were people going to get out of it? Could they even market something so odd? These fears had almost stopped the movie before it even had a chance. But luckily, the studio took a chance, and when people got their first look at the crazy comedy, the special effects, and the wild imagination, it became a big hit. Number 5. The nightclub dance was almost improvised. The Coco Bongo nightclub dance scene was just unforgettable. But what if that jaw-dropping performance was without sticking to a script or perfectly planned moves? Now, while the movie's choreographer did give a great starting point, and Jim Carrey and Cameron Diaz practiced for weeks, the real magic took place when they started filming. Neither of the two actors was a professional dancer, but they brought their energy, creativity, and unique style to the scene. Jim Carrey did not shy away from breaking free of the planned choreography. His wild and chaotic spins, hilarious expressions, and unpredictable moves were pure moments of improv that brought the zany character to life. Cameron Diaz also matched that energy, adding in her own flair and spontaneity, and together, the chemistry and ability to infuse their own instincts into the scene turned it all into a dynamic spectacle. Number 4. Milo the dog tested better than some actors. It sounds weird, but one of the biggest stars of the film was Milo, the Jack Russell Terrier. Played by a talented dog named Max, Milo became a standout performer on set, stealing scenes with his playful energy and perfect comedic timing. Believe it or not, according to director Chuck Russell, the crew often joked that Milo knew his stuff better than some of the younger human cast, because the little dog hit his marks flawlessly, performed with heart, and delivered expressive reactions that lit up the screen. Imagine it. Whether he was racing after a frisbee or helping Stanley break out of jail, Milo added a lot of energy and charm to the role, and some scenes were created specifically to highlight his talent. The director even said that Max's timing and excitement on camera were amazing all the time. That's impressive for a four-legged actor who can't even speak. Number 3. CGI had to be redesigned for comedy timing. When Industrial Light and Magic took on the visual effects, their focus was not on traditional CGI featuring massive robots or galactic battles, but instead they aimed to produce effects that felt as though they were ripped right out of a classic animated cartoon. Their mission was to capture the exaggerated, wacky essence of Tex Avery's iconic style. And for your information, Avery was an animation legend whose style inspired the film's look and comedic timing. So, visual effects supervisor Scott Squires and his team worked hard to get the timing of the jokes just right, making sure that the funny transformations like huge popping eyeballs and rolling tongues looked hilarious instead of weird. If the timing wasn't perfect, the jokes wouldn't be funny. And to make it work, the animators carefully created every transformation and even tested how long that each joke should last. Too quick and you'd miss the laugh, too slow and it would be awkward. In short, every stretchy, bouncy, and squishy effect was planned and timed to sync perfectly with Jim Carrey's outrageous performance. Number 2. The Cuban Pete scene almost didn't make the movie. How close were we to missing one of the funniest and most unforgettable scenes? The famous Cuban Pete scene where the mask stuns an entire police force with a wild and hilarious musical performance almost didn't make it into the film. When the director showed the scene to New Line Cinema execs, they weren't exactly impressed and thought that it went on for too long, wasn't funny enough, and didn't really match the rest of the movie.
Call me Cuban Pete. I'm the king of the rumba beat. When I play the maracas, I go chick chicky boom, chick chicky boom.
Producers actually thought about cutting the scene, even saying that it's not a musical, as they tried to talk the director into removing it. However, Russell really believed in the scene and refused to give up. Everything changed during a test screening when the audience burst out laughing and clapping, loving the crazy energy of Cuban Pete more than almost any other part of the movie. Because of this huge reaction, the studio agreed to keep it. Number 1. Alternate actors almost shifted the entire tone. When Jim Carrey was finally cast as the lead, it was a decision that guaranteed the movie's iconic status. But what if he hadn't played the mask? Before Carrey took on the role of Stanley Ipkiss, the studio had considered some quite different actors for the part. They thought about big comedic stars like Robin Williams, who could have brought his quick and funny style to the character. Steve Martin was another option, and he might have made the role full of silly and over-the-top humor. Even Nicolas Cage and Keanu Reeves were considered. And of course, they would have brought their own unique intensity to the film. The potential cast list included legends like Martin Short, Mike Myers, Matthew Broderick, and Rick Moranis. I mean, just think about how each of these actors could have reshaped the tone of the movie entirely. Would it have been the same zany, cartoonish adventure we know today, or something completely unexpected? Now, be sure to smash that like button if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe so that you know when we upload another video like this. Got any recommendations? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.